in case you forgot, my name is Ms. Murillo, and in this lesson, we're going to be working on your week 3 packets under the math section, and we're going to be doing the activity that's in the kitchen. And in a few seconds, I'll explain what it is exactly that we're going to be baking. But before we get started, I did want to mention that I know this has all been very different for everyone, especially with the distance learning from home, but I'm sure that you guys have been able to keep up with everything. And the important thing is that everybody stays safe at home and they're being healthy. And I really do miss you guys. I miss being inside of the classrooms with you guys and learning, but this is a new way of learning and we're gonna make the best of it. So let's get started with the video. These are the ingredients to the recipe that we're gonna be making today. So we're gonna be using 1/2 of a cup of vegetable oil, 1/4 of a cup of water, 2 eggs, and 1 bag of, if you haven't guessed already, we're making brownies. So we have 1 bag of brownie mix, and these are the brownie ingredients. All right. I went ahead and poured the vegetable oil inside of our glass measuring cup. And if we remember correctly, our recipe says that we need 1/2 of a cup of vegetable oil, which is what I did here. It's 1/2 of 1 cup. So if we poured another half of vegetable oil, that means we would have 1 cup of vegetable oil. Now, let's go ahead and look at our plastic measuring cup. So our recipe says that we need 1/4 of 1 cup of water. Now, you're probably asking why I have 1 cup of water instead of 1/4 cups of water. Well, it's because I want us to subtract the water until we reach 1/4 of 1 cup. So if we count, we can see that our 1 cup is cut into fractions of fourths. So we have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and then 1 or 4/4. So we're gonna be subtracting until we reach 1/4. All right, let's go ahead and try this. I'm gonna come over to the other side so I can see better. So let's go ahead and try. Seems like we're gonna need just a little bit more. Let's wait for the water to level out and see what we're left with. Hopefully it should be at 3/4. Yep, just about. So we have subtracted 1/4 of water into this separate cup, and now we're left with 3/4 of water. So since we still need to get 1/4, we're gonna go ahead and subtract the next 1/4, which would now be 2/4 of water that we have subtracted to see if we can reach our 1/4. Tiny bit more. All right, let's wait for it to level out. I tried to write 2/4 on there for you guys to see that 1/2 does equal 2/4, but it seems like it blurred out a little bit. But I do want us to know that 1/2 also equals 2/4 because 2 is half of 4. So it seems like we're just about there. So we have now removed exactly half of the water that we started with. We had 1 cup or 4/4, and we subtracted, so far we have subtracted 2/4, or again, half of the water that we had. So in order to reach our 1/4 cups of water, we're gonna need to subtract another 1/4 fraction of the water that we have. Looks like we just might be there. Let's wait for it to level out. Oh, we're just above. All right, let's see. It looks like it might be there. Yep. All right, so now we have 1/4 of 1 cup of water. So we can go ahead and pour this all into one bowl, which we're gonna do in just a couple seconds. But again, in order for us to get to 1/4 from 1 whole, we had to subtract 3/4 of the water that we started with. So here was 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and we were left with 1/4 of water. Careful, these are a few reminders. If you are going to try this at home, make sure you get help from a responsible adult. Do not do this by yourself. Remember to wash your hands with soap and water before mixing any of the ingredients together. I already put the brownie mix inside of the bowl that we're going to be using, which is this one. And the reason why there's kind of like a volcano hole in there is because every time I bake and I have to use eggs and I have to put some sort of powder in a bowl, I like to do this and put the egg inside of there. It's just something I like to do. This is the brownie mix that I used. You can get brownie mix anywhere at any store, really, mainly like a grocery store, and they're usually between like $1 and $3, I think, to get the brownie mix. So let's go ahead and put our 2 eggs in there. I like to get all of the egg in there. We're gonna put that to the side. Make sure you don't get any of the eggshell inside there. You're gonna have to pick it out. It looks like a little volcano. Next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our oil and the water. So if we remember, we had 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. We're gonna go ahead and pour that right in there. And as you can see, the oil just oozes out when you use a glass measuring cup. You can get almost all of it in there. And 1/4 of water. Here we're just gonna whisk everything all together. At home, if you have a mixer, you can use that as well, but I'm just gonna use a whisk for today because I feel like the mixer is gonna be way too loud. And pretty soon, you're gonna get this delicious brownie mix. Trust me guys, it smells really good. Get all that powder in there. It's pretty easy to whisk together. And then once you're done with this, you're just gonna pour it into a pan that you're gonna use in your oven, which I have over here. But first we gotta make sure we whisk this all together. Looks pretty good so far. How's it looking? Good? I think so. I went ahead and put some nonstick spray onto the pan that we're gonna use. And this just helps for the brownie mix not to stick to the pan when it's heating in the oven, so that when you're cutting it, it just comes right off. Once the brownie mix is inside the pan that you're gonna be using, make sure to preheat your oven, and I already did this. I put it to 350 degrees so that it can be ready for us to put our brownie mix inside. Okay, so once it's in there, you're going to set your timer for 30 minutes at 350 degrees. While we wait for the brownies to bake in the oven, we're gonna work on one of the math problems for this week. Again, we're in week 3 of the packets. So the question is this one. It says, Bonnie buys 6 paperback books every month. She buys 2 hardcover books every month. How many books does she buy in 4 months? So to solve this problem, the first thing that we're gonna do is identify what details are important for us to solve the problem. So I'm gonna underline those in red. So we know that she buys 6 paperback books every month. So we're gonna underline that 6 paperback, just as I did here. And we're also going to underline 2 hardcover books every month. So she's getting 6 paperback and 2 hardcover. And then it asks, how many books does she buy in 4 months? So we want to know the total amount of books that she's buying in 4 months. I'm going to circle that. Okay, so I'm going to erase the question so that we can actually solve this problem together. All right, so we know that Bonnie is getting 6 paperback books, and I'm going to put a P just for us to remember that it's paperback. And she's also buying 2 hardcover books every month. So how many books is Bonnie buying every month? We're going to add 6 plus 2 is 8 books. So she's getting 8 books every month. Now that's another important thing for us to remember, because the question asks, how many books is she going to buy in 4 months? So if we know that together with the paperback books and the hardcover books, she's buying 8, that's going to help us figure out what we need to do to solve the problem. So let's go ahead and erase this and continue working. And you can keep this on your piece of paper and just find a new spot to work on. I have to erase because I'm using the whiteboard and I need more space. So we know that she's getting 8 books every month. And the question wants us to figure out how many books she's buying in 4 months total. So are we going to need to add, subtract, multiply, or divide? That's right, we're going to need to multiply by 4 months. So 8 books times 4 months is going to give us the amount of books that she buys total in 4 months. So now we're just going to multiply. 8 times 4 is 32. So she's buying 32 books in 4 months. And for some of us, we need to draw it out sometimes, and that's completely fine. So I'm going to go ahead and do that too. Or we can count. So we have 4 groups of 8. Sometimes it's easier for us just to write the number on the bottom, 8, 8, 8, 8. But some of us need to actually draw them inside. So we're going to do that too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the circles represent every month. So this is 1 month. This is 2 months. This is 3 months. And this is 4 months. I hope you guys can see this okay. So now we just add it up all together, or multiply it all together, or count it all together. So let's go ahead and do that. 8, 16, 24, and 32. So our answer is 32 books. Sounds like our brownies are ready. Looks good. All right, we're gonna turn this off here. Nice. And we're gonna cut up our brownies. Thank you guys for joining me today and watching this video and using fractions in the kitchen.